Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about how to have a great first date. I love first dates. I love the idea of getting to know someone and sitting down and meeting a new person. There's sort of this potential energy that exists on a first date. Is this gonna go anywhere? Is this the only time we're ever gonna interact? So today I'm gonna share my rules to have a great first date. Number one is the ejector seat rule. Look, a bad first date can be really bad. I've had some bad first dates where you're with someone and you realize pretty quickly, oh my goodness, we don't have any chemistry here. This is not gonna work out. So to avoid an uncomfortable situation where you're stuck with someone for a prolonged period of time, I recommend avoiding interactions that have to be longer than 45 minutes. So what do I mean by this? Something like a movie or a dinner is an interaction where you're kind of locked in for a large chunk of time, right? You go to a restaurant, you gotta sit down, you have to order, the food has to get there. If the date isn't going well, typically you know before the appetizers arrive. For a first date, I recommend one of 3 different locations. First, drinks. Even if you don't drink alcohol, you can go out, you can order a non-alcoholic beverage, sit and hang out. Second is coffee. Coffee is fantastic because it's non-committal, right? Sometimes you can go out, have a coffee, sit down for 45 minutes, chat. At the end of that, if there's no chemistry, no worries, you can get up and go. Lunch also works. Unlike dinner, where you kind of like sit down and it's sort of a long affair, lunch is usually pretty quick. None of these are necessarily suggestive. They're not leading to anything. It's just an opportunity to get to know someone. Tip number 2, keep the place neutral. Look, as a woman existing in the world today, it can be a very scary place to live. I completely understand that. As a guy, there's a lot of frustrations around dating, but a lot of them are about finding someone to date, not worried that you're gonna get murdered on the date. So with that in mind, I almost always recommend having her pick the place. So you pick the activity, she picks the place. So if you say, hey, I'd love to take you out for coffee, what are some good coffee shops around you? Or, hey, I'd love to take you out for a drink, what's a good spot you'd like to go to get a drink? This allows her to pick a spot where she feels safe that she's actually gonna show up to. If you're asking a girl to drive 30 minutes to come to your crappy bar, chances that she actually shows up are a little bit lower. She should be in a spot where she feels comfortable. The goal here is to get to know one another. If she's constantly looking over her shoulder, worried, uncomfortable, and nervous, it's not gonna make for a great first date. Tip number 3, dress nicely, but don't make it weird. This isn't a wedding, this is a first date. You shouldn't necessarily be in a full suit and tie. I have a tendency to overdress for things. I can feel like this is a big occasion, I need to dress up, I need to pull out my Sunday best. You don't, right? You need to look nice, you need to look presentable, but you also want to be comfortable, right? The goal of this is to get to know one another. The goal is to connect. And if you're feeling uncomfortable because you're like super dressed up, you're not going to be as open to connecting. I recommend dressing in something that makes you feel attractive, but that isn't over the top. Maybe it's a nice flannel and a jacket. That's perfect. If you dress up, it puts a lot of pressure on this as being, oh my God, this is a big thing. This is a first date. There's so much pressure on it. Whereas this is just 2 people getting to know each other, right? The goal of this is just for 2 people to connect, get to know one another, to see if there's a seed that's actually gonna lead to a relationship. So don't dress like a bum, but also no need to go crazy over the top, overdressed. If you haven't been out on a date in a while, it can sometimes feel like, oh my God, I need to like dress my absolute best. You don't. Dress nicely, but also dress comfortably. You wanna feel good. If you have that nervous, uncomfortable energy, she's totally gonna pick up on it. Next tip, it's okay if you just don't feel like it's a match. Now, the unfairness of dating apps and the amount of time it takes to meet someone is totally valid. I get it, I've been there. But because of that, I think for some guys, it can become easy to convince yourself that you like someone even when you really don't. It's just been a while since I've been out with a girl, and just sitting across from her, having a beer, oh my gosh, I think I'm actually in love with her. Wait a second, are you in love with her, or is this just the first time you're getting attention in a while? Really check in with yourself. Do you like her? Is there a spark here? Is there energy here? I know that I've had experiences where just because a girl was interested in me, I thought I was interested in them. And sometimes we ended up dating because of that. But as time went on, I realized I wasn't actually interested in them. And I probably could have told you that from the start, but I was just lying to myself because I was getting this attention and this validation, and that felt great. So check in with yourself. Do you really like them? Number 5, you should always pay. Chivalry is not dead. Remember, I'm not suggesting you're going to a Michelin star restaurant for your first date. This is coffee or drinks or lunch. You can afford it. Always, always pay. Now, I've heard from some female friends that they like to pay on first dates because they're worried that if they don't pay, then they're gonna feel an obligation to put out with the guy that they're going out with. Remember, I'm suggesting drinks or coffee or lunch. I'm really not suggesting you have sex on the first date. This is just about getting to know someone. So if you're really looking for a relationship, I recommend being relatively transparent about that. Saying that you're not looking for a hookup, saying that you're looking for something actually serious, setting up something middle of the day, all are indications that you're not looking to sleep with someone on that first date. And if that's the case, even if she's very strong-willed, she probably will be more open to letting you pay. Chivalry's not dead. Always pay. Final tip, if the date went well, text her the next day. Don't leave her hanging. Don't leave her thinking you don't like her and moving on to someone else. Let her know that you had a great time and try to set up something else. If you find yourself the next day going, oh my God, I really love that conversation I had with her last night. I would love to see her again. Let her know that. Be clear, be transparent about your intentions. I'm playing these mind games of like waiting a certain number of days and all of that. I'm over it, I'm done with it, and I can tell you the women in my life that I've talked to are done with it as well. Text her the next day. Let her know you had a good time and suggest that you should go out again. I recommend saying something like the following. Hey, I had a great time last night/yesterday. I'd love to see you again soon. Are you free for coffee this weekend? Bonus points if you could make an inside joke in there about something you talked about on the date the night before. You got this. A first date is about going in, connecting with someone, and seeing if there's a spark. If there's not, that's fine. There's lots of other people out there. So if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below. And if you're wondering how to get a date in the first place, watch my video right over here.